Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin my questions, I would like to note that uh, we all acknowledge, both the Democrats and the Republicans, acknowledge the importance of critical minerals and our over-reliance on China. At the same time, though, there are environmental concerns with mining these resources, and I just want to put on the record my opposition to this regime's attempt to reverse a 20-year ban on mining near Minnesota's boundary waters. And while access to critical minerals supplies domestically are important, we can't just toss out the kinds of environmental concerns that have to do with contamination of local lakes and rivers, as is the case in the Minnesota situation. So environmental requirements are important. We don't just toss those things out because we want to mine critical minerals. You've been asked, Mr. Secretary, a number of questions relating to the $400 million in equity that we have with MP Materials, and I made a note that you said that we pursued equity ownership to address failed marketplace efforts. I don't know what that means, because you can argue that there's failed marketplace efforts to justify equity shares, and I suppose any number of private entities, and it's really hard for us to determine whether that is an accurate depiction of the reasons for it or not. But this is very unusual for the government to acquire equity shares, and there are issues relating to competition or the lack thereof when we get an equity share in a private entity. So I just want to raise my concerns. And there's also an issue of whether or not the Defense Production Act even gives the authority under the act for the U.S. to achieve equity shares. And there's a question is if that authority is deemed not existent, I don't know what that does to the equity shares, $400 million. Does that mean that that deal has to be unwound? It reminds me very much of the Supreme Court's decision on the unconstitutionality of the tariffs and the billions of dollars that are, there are going to be arguments about returning all of that. Let me turn to something that I think I think is very positive on this issue of critical minerals, and that has to do with recycling of critical minerals from end-of-life equipment. So I'm glad to see that in your testimony you refer to recycling as one of the ways that we're going to address our need for critical minerals, and especially obtaining critical minerals from spent lithium-ion batteries. So I wanted to ask you, what progress are you making in this area of recycling, and are you preparing any demonstration projects to scale these recycling technologies up?
Thank you, Senator. A great example of our recycling capabilities is through the Defense Logistics Agency, through their germanium recycling program. They have taken night vision optics that have been decommissioned after periods of use and have been able to harvest back the materials so that they have a ready supply of ready material for the warfighter, for the Defense Industrial Base as a reserve into
So
our...
I'm sorry, I am running out of time, but I want to make sure that you are, both of you, are very committed to shoring up the recycling aspects of critical minerals, and that you are spending the kind of money that we need in R&D for this purpose. Are you, one, committed to recycling, and two, do you have, I had a question as to whether or not you have any demonstration projects to show us your progress in this area?
Senator, we're absolutely committed. We recognize that recycling would be a critical source of supply for us for the long haul. And there are multiple demonstration projects underway within the R&E portfolio, research and engineering portfolio. We'll go ahead and come back to you on the report what those projects are.
And are you making it clear to the private sector that they also can participate in the developing the kind of recycling of critical minerals from spent materials, so that they can put their energies and brain power to enabling us to recycle?
Absolutely, Senator. We put out our requirements often to the market and hope that we can bring the best of breed capabilities back for us to leverage in these decisions and these analyses.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one short question about a provision we put in last year's NDAA?
Yes, ma'am.
So Section 1412 of the fiscal year 2026 NDAA requires the Defense Logistics Agency to report to SASC and HASC on best practices to expand their strategic material recovery and reuse program by March 1st, 2026. That is right around the corner. Is that report on schedule?
Senator, the Defense Logistics Agency is a separate agency, field agency within acquisition sustainment. I'll bring that request back to Honorable Duffy, who's the Undersecretary for A&S, and we'll find out.
This is an issue, you know. I mean, recycling is a very important part of the testimony you gave, and yet you're not the one that's able to tell us whether this report is going to be on time or not. But I appreciate your conveying it to the appropriate entity in DOD. Thank you.
Thank you for agreeing